And my name is Cha Wu, so I'm here to represent the Chinese American Parent Association of Howard County and Howard County Chinese School at Columbia, Howard County Chinese School at Cantonsville, Columbia Chinese School, Language School, and the Peiying Chinese School. Today, we are interviewing BOE candidate Janet Siddiqui. And we have solicited questions from our community, even from our kids. These questions cover a variety of topics that Chinese families would like to hear your opinions. This interview will help our community to make an informed decision in November's election. Good morning, Janet. Would you like to give a self-introduction first?
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to answer questions and be available for the Chinese community. I'm Janet Siddiqui, and I've been on the Board of Education since 2007. I'm lived in Howard County over 30 years, and I have been a pediatrician with Johns Hopkins for over 20 years. My campaign and my direction has always been focusing on the whole child and looking at the cognitive, social, emotional, and physical aspects of the whole child. I feel like I've worked well with the community over the past few years. I've represented, children, teachers, community members, senior citizens, and students within the community, and I always, made my decisions based on the best knowledge possible, and in terms of when we look at policy and other decision making. And I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. So my first question, HoCo and other community organizations would like to initiate an Asian American community roundtable. We would like to invite local elected officials and the community leaders to meet with Asian Americans in our community on a routine basis, for example, quarterly. Would you like to participate? Any other thoughts on increasing open communication between HCPSS and the Asian American community parents?
I think this is a wonderful idea. Having a group of leaders within the Asian community that meets periodically with the Board of Education and with the superintendent is a good idea. It's an opportunity to talk about needs of the students and the parents, and to discuss academic achievement, curriculum needs within the schools, community resources, and I welcome this opportunity to have a transparent and open discussion. We currently meet with several other community groups, and we typically meet twice a year. And then in between that, so that it works out to be quarterly, the community group meets separately with the superintendent to see how progress is doing.
Great, thank you. Second question. In the past years, it seems that increasing numbers of students are placed into GT programs. The size of the GT classes is forever growing. At some schools, more than 40% of students are in the GT math. There are also some schools that try to place more students into GT English. The teachers have to slow down the pace to accommodate the students who are struggling in the GT classes. On the other hand, some students feel the class materials are repetitive and they are not being challenged enough in the class. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, every student needs to have the opportunity to achieve his or her potential and to be encouraged to challenge themselves without barriers. The percentage of students taking GT courses has increased since we removed the barriers several years ago. We found out several years ago that many students felt inhibited and needed teacher signatures in order to participate. So now we've removed those barriers, which has increased the participation. If teachers need to slow down, then the method of teaching isn't working. We need to work towards concept teaching, critical thinking skills, and students can be based in groups based on their strengths, and this helps the class as a whole. Other things to look at would be, additional resources if a GT course has students with different levels of learning.
So what's your thought on the 40% of students being in the GT class? Is that number too large or too small, or it's good?
I think that it depends on the number of students that can achieve at that level. We may have 40 to 60% of students that are able to achieve the GT level of rigor of coursework. On a certain particular subject, we may have 20%. So I think it varies, but I think what's important is that students have that opportunity to achieve the maximal level of their success within any subject coursework. And if we're finding that we need additional resources to accommodate the number of students that are participating, then we need to address that issue separately.
Question 3. We believe the school system should raise the floor without pulling down the ceiling. It benefits everybody in our community when each student can achieve his or her highest potential. To raise the floor, the school system needs to invest more in the program helping kids who are lagging behind, such as the morning program and the summer program. We would like to hear your plan to improve this program or introduce new initiatives.
There are many ways to approach achievement gaps. Some are systemic and some are more individualized. You start by looking at the individual child and looking at any socioeconomic factors, physical, cognitive, psychological issues that could be impacting the student. Measures of academic progress or MAP testing is our only local assessment that gives teachers feedback on where a student is at a certain moment in time. And this information can give the teacher opportunity to develop an individual plan for a student's academic progress. When you look more systemically or at certain racial or ethnic groups, the BSAP program for Black Student Achievement and the Hispanic Liaisons program have helped substantially. At the school level, base needs principals can develop before and after school programs based on their individual student needs. And special education students' needs are met through their IEP by federal law. Early intervention programs from birth to pre-K and Head Start help those identified early to get services needed. And the elementary school model is showing promise as it looks at many areas that improve student outcomes. World language, music, arts also play a role in academic success. And it's a balance between systemic programs and the individual needs of the students, and looking at the whole child that will continue to help students. We always raise the bar for our students. There's nothing that they can't achieve.
Thank you. Question 4. Many research shows that socioeconomic status instead of race has a bigger impact on students' academic performance. What are your views? If you are elected, how would you evaluate the situation, and how would you make a policy to direct resources to the students and families in need?
Poverty does have an impact on student academic performance, and I've worked on this for years with the board and with the county's Community Action Council. The research actually shows that interventions need to start shortly after a child is born into poverty. If you can get a woman or a mother out of poverty, her children will be more academically successful. Also, early identification as young as 9 months can help identify those children at risk for developmental challenges based on their socioeconomic status. Also, critical is the 3 years to 3rd grade children. If you can impact those children, you can make a difference. I've supported full-day pre-kindergarten, and we've been able to do that in our schools at the federal poverty level. Also, the elementary school model addresses many of the components and interventions that impact and improve outcomes at an early age. The model addresses world language at a young age, which improves academic outcomes, telehealth, which keeps our kids healthy and in the classroom, the strengths component that looks at children's strengths rather shortcomings, and teaching methods where teachers teach the area of their own strength.
So just follow up on this one. Is that world language is very important. However, in our county, for world language education, actually it's not widespread in all the schools. So how do you view that? I think, for example, only probably Hispanic is taught in primary school, the Chinese language is not taught, or other language is not beside English, is not taught in the primary school or elementary school. So how do you think there's opportunity or chance to increase world language in the starting from the primary elementary school?
I agree absolutely that even the research shows that there's a critical age of like the young elementary age in order to master a certain language that you need to start at a younger age. We've done that with the Spanish, trying to integrate it into the elementary school model where they're getting Spanish every single day. We did do a pilot with the Chinese language that didn't work out as well. What I would like to see in the future is possibly, and I'll get to, this is in another question as well, but looking at different programs where, possibly partial immersion or full immersion Chinese language program, because I do think that the Chinese language is a critical world language that our students need to know.
Sure, I think, for example, the Chinese school has a huge participation from the community. We have around 1,000 students in the Chinese school at Howard Community College. We have around 100 in the paying Chinese school, another 100 in the Chinese language school at Columbia. So there's a huge need from the community, which actually learn the Chinese language during the weekend. So I think it's HCPSS try to help or collaborate with the Chinese schools around the county.
Sure.
That will be very helpful.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And getting Chinese language school teachers that are within the Chinese community certified, at the state requirements, so that we can bring them into the schools and teach.
For myself, I tried to learn Spanish for several semesters from Montgomery College, but because the age is kind of a little difficult, really dive into improve that. But I learned some numbers and the very basic Spanish language, but it's really helpful. I can read some even very basic Spanish newspaper.
Okay.
It's fun. How about question 5? So the school system conducted a survey on religious culture holiday observance. If you are elected, how would you like to use the result of the survey to benefit the HCPSS community?
I'm hopeful that the survey will give us some good data to use as we make decisions about the calendar moving forward. I hope we've had a good representation from across the county and all the religious and ethnic backgrounds. I think the data should guide the board in making thoughtful decisions for both staff and students.
So what is strong opposition, objection to have a more comprehensive inclusion to observe different cultural holidays from your point of view? What is strong opposition from the board or from the staff to try to include more holidays in the school system?
Opposition? It's challenging from an academic standpoint in terms of the number of days off, scheduling, as we look at other different holidays. In the past year, we included the Lunar New Year. We've always had Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We included Eid al-Adha and Diwali. And I think this year, I think it's a good balance. I think, there are some equity issues that we do need to look at in terms of all the different diversity and cultures that we have within our community. Then I'm hoping that the data will bring us more information regarding that. But I think if we can, strike a balance, and this actually goes to the next question.
So next question, do you support closing schools on Lunar New Year or Lunar New Year Eve, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, Eid al-Adha or Diwali, Christmas or Easter? Right.
The Christmas and Easter, those are already sort of state mandated holidays. We've always done Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I think everyone should have the opportunity to take time to celebrate with family and their friends for their religious or cultural holidays. I think it's important to them and part of their heritage and values, and defines in many ways who they are. I believe in Howard County, there is a great respect for diversity, and the people are open to learn about others' ways and customs. I supported the calendar this year for students, and I think it'll work well and and we look forward to feedback from families as well. I think if we can strike a balance based on academic needs of the school system and taking the opportunity to learn and respect the differences amongst us, I think then we're in a good place. Students and staff should always take advantage of our existing religious policy. That allows for exemptions for students to make up work if they missed a day due to a religious or cultural activity.
I think our community actually thanks your support for including the Lunar New Year into the school calendar. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let's take a short break. I think Jim probably coming soon.